What up, everybody? It's Friday. Beautiful, beautiful time to be alive. Beautiful, beautiful time to be aware. Beautiful, beautiful time to be awoke. And we here, we live, and we direct. We're going to get things popping and make it do what it do. First and foremost, let me welcome myself. I go by the name of Daz, DJ Daz One to some. However else you want to refer to me, that's what it is. And this is the Rap Sheet Podcast, where creatives and culture meet. Season 2, episode number 9. I think I just did 10, but episode number 9. So let's make some noise for that real quick. Here we go. Yeah. First and foremost, I want to sponsor my company, Concrete Royalty. If you have not checked us out, go check us out, concreteroyalty.com. You can get this shirt and a whole lot of other shirts that are up there. If you're in a relationship with a happy somebody, whether it's a girlfriend or boyfriend or fiance or husband or wife, and you're of color, you need to buy 2 of these and get them. All right? Just went up there. I got mine. You should definitely get yours. All right? I'm about to bring my guest on, and we're going to have a good time. Hopefully she spread the word out to all her peoples. And if not, they will definitely see the replay. So let's bring her on right now. Let me see if I can find her. Up there. Make this do what it do, what it do, what it do. Okay. Got my volume turned all the way up.
Hey.
Good. Look at this. Look at her smiling already.
Hey.
Okay, now she just went in the dark. Okay, there she goes.
No, I went in the dark. I shouldn't have gone in the dark.
No, you good now. You disappeared and then you came back. So we good. So shout out to technical difficulties getting cleared up early. There we go.
Hey. What's going on? Rap Sheet Podcast. How y'all doing?
So the person that y'all see on camera right now is I don't get to do interviews with very good friends. This lady right here is a very good friend. She's got me through a lot of stuff in the last couple of months. Very good friend.
I didn't know you was going to tell that.
Oh, we don't leave no stone unturned here, but we keep it professional and keep it safe. But I'm pretty much an open book. But we have a lot of things in common. We both are in the radio game. We both strongly advocate for mental health, which is something we're going to talk about deeply tonight. But there's not too many people that I have done things with that shoot from the hip, but shoot from the hip in a professional and positive, can-do attitude type of way. And this lady is the embodiment of all that and then some. But you don't want to get into an argument with her because you will lose.
Oh, no.
I've been on that end too.
That's not true.
I'm just joking. No. She's not afraid to speak from her heart. And sometimes when you speak passionately, those things just come out. It's normal.
Very true.
She's a therapist. She's a clinician. She's a mother. She's a poet. She's a radio and podcast host. And she is someone that is so musically inclined. So if you debate with her on music, you better know what you talk about. Otherwise, you might not last in that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I do. So ladies and gentlemen, for the one and only Coach Law in the building, what's going on?
Hey. What's going on?
That's right.
Rashid? So I'm excited, Dad. I'm excited to just be able to kick it on this platform. I know when we talked, I was like, wait a minute, but I thought it was just for musicians and rappers and MCs. So I was like, okay, I'm honored to be on this platform and to talk to you about what I do. But I do believe that music is so pivotal to so many people's mental health, and so many artists like Kid Cudi and different things have talked about their journey and how they've used music to get through dark times. Mary J. Blige. I mean, the list goes on and on. About the artists that have talked about music saving their life. Like if they didn't have music, if they didn't have hip hop, they didn't know where they would be. So I think there's so many indications that we all have been experiencing mental health related traumas that often as Black folks, we don't name that. We just be like, man, I'm in my feels, or I'm going through it, or life is tough. Like we use other terminology to explain that really what it is that we're in a mental health crisis.
Yeah. The hashtag for my podcast is where creatives and culture meet. So, I mean, I really wanted to do something where a lot of creatives, mostly of color, but we don't mind bringing on anyone that's creative. But I want to bring on people that speak to our culture in a creative way, where it's not like any other podcast. Yeah, I talk to MCs and singers and DJs and all that. That's fine. And they have their stories as well. But someone in your position who really digs deep beyond what you hear on a verse or in a hook or in a video, you actually talk to people who are going. We've talked many times about some of the things that I've been through. I mean, you know pretty much most of it, and you always seem to have an answer, whether it's just something to look at or you give me an exercise. Your work we need more people like you in this field, because we're us as Black folks are going through a lot. Like, the news reflects us, the arts reflect us, everyday life, politics reflect us. There are so many people who are feeling for Brittany Griner right now, wishing they could be over there to take her place. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I'm like, what's going on with her is tragic, only because Russians just don't like Black people, and that's why she got the sense that she got. I mean, that little vape cartridge thing, 9 years. Seriously, like, don't you think it's a little extreme? So, but yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I would say as we digress, but in this case, as we proceed to give you what you
as
need.
we proceed, definitely. So being a therapist and being a clinician, and I was looking at your website, and the thing that stood out to me was feminine energy space. Love that. When did your love for, when did you know you wanted to be a therapist, and what did you going to school and everything, learning the ropes, learning the process to get to where you got, what was your mission statement going to be for your practice?
Well, it's interesting that you ask about that, because I think initially, for me, I was just trying to figure out where my passion lied. A lot of people don't know this. I was a career changer. So I started off going into financial services and was managing banks. I was a full service financial advisor. So some people who are in that field this might resonate with you, but I had a Series 6, a Series 7, a Series 63. I was like full service going down that track of teaching people about money. And when I trace it back, when I was in undergrad, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And originally I did want to do psychology, but then my advisor recommended for me to sort of take a step back and just take courses that I was interested in, which led me down the Africana Studies, AKA Black History path, and also economics. And one of my biggest things were that I wanted to know was about my history, about my culture. I didn't learn that. Like, there was like one chapter in history and it was talking about us being slaves, right? There wasn't, Frederick Douglass, the standard people. And I was like, there got to be more to how I came to be here in the United States. So I went that track, and then it was the other, messaging of us being poor. Like, it was just so much poverty that I was like, then what? How do we, as Black people, change this existence? So I thought, you know what? Let me learn about money. So if I learn about money, I learn about how to make money. I can make money and come back to my community and be that individual that can invest in the community because I've made all this money. But God, I guess, or the universe, whatever you want to look at, had a different plan for me. And I got laid off from a job. And when I got laid off from being a branch manager at a major bank, I was given a career coach as part of my severance package. And some of the things she helped me map out was the things I loved about my job, my past career opportunities, and just different things that I had done. And the interesting thing, my boss used to tell me when I managed the bank that we don't pay you to be a social worker. We pay you to open accounts. So the irony of where my life sort of took me is I was that person. If you came to the bank, you would sit and talk to me about your whole life. And I would take way too long with customers. So it was like always sort of in me to be that listening ear, but I never thought about becoming a therapist. Like that was so far off my radar, so far off of what I ever would have imagined. I thought social workers, as far as my community was, those were Department of Children and Families. Back then we called it DSS, right? Like if a social worker showed up at your door, your family was in trouble and they might be removing you from your house. So I was like, I definitely don't want to be a social worker. Like those are bad. Like that's like taboo. But going down the track of becoming a life coach led me to go and explore how I could be a better service to my community. At the time, I don't know if you remember, I was doing a girls program. And I do remember. That girls program was for at-risk young women that I called Rock Your Life. And the goal behind that program was to help young women who were, according to society's standard, rough around the edges, or, you know, people didn't know what to do with them. And I was like, how do we take your strengths? How do we take your weaknesses and make them your strengths? So if you're loud, have you thought about radio? Have you thought about becoming a motivational speaker? If you're out there selling drugs, have you thought about becoming an accountant or a tax person? How do we use what you're good at and make it a strength? What they say is bad, how do we convert it? So that led me to see that a lot of the young women, they couldn't afford a life coach. Who's going to pay for it? Most of them didn't have parents. You know, the people that I wanted to work with wouldn't have had the resources for it. And then I found out about what they called at that time an LICSW. I was like, what is an LICSW? What do they do? And I saw all of these life coaches had these acronyms behind their name. And I learned that if I went that route, I could take insurance. And if I took insurance, I could see more people, and maybe that would allow me to work with the people I wanted to work with, which was primarily young Black women or women of color. So when I think about all of that, the name of my practice, which now you probably saw, it went from Rock Your Life to Resiliency and Optimism Changes Lives, which is still an acronym for ROCK. So what I've learned is resiliency and optimism are the two catalysts or the two pivotal things that help people have hope. If you can be resilient and you can be optimistic, you can pretty much overcome anything.
That was, man, let's give a round of applause for that, first of all. There you go. Wow. I wasn't trying to get deep from the beginning, Coach.
Well, the name, I'm trying to tell you, the name, you know, it's long too. You know, in business, they say you want a short name. So I now just say We Rock Lives. That's like the short version. But at the catalyst of it all is I want us to build that muscle of resilience and build that muscle of optimism. And that's what I do in all of my coaching and therapy sessions. It's really try to have you find something to be grateful for.
Right.
Because there's always something.
Oh yeah, we're all great at something. Just want to pause for the moment. Shout out to my fiance who's tuned in right now. Hi, Kayla. Hey, baby.
Hey,
just wanted to. If I don't do that, she will throw me. If I don't do that, she'll put me on timeout. So I gotta do that. If you're just now tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, we got Coach Lott in the building. This lady is just life personified. She's been through it all. She has an answer for everything. And if she doesn't, she will try to navigate the best way that she can. And she's done it for me many, many times. So I want to definitely thank her for that. Let's go back to the beginning. Talk about your childhood, where you was raised. Where are you from originally? Speak on just your childhood. Where are you from originally, first of all?
You know I'm a hardcore Bostonian. I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I've lived in several neighborhoods, but originally I would say Roxbury, Dorchester was my stomping grounds. But when I was really, really small, I lived in a town called Brighton, right? So I grew up in Fidelis Way. right? That was my mother's first
Okay.
apartment, was in Fidelis Way, which was out in Brighton. But I'm a Roxbury girl all day.
Dorchester's better though. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
I
put
don't
that out there.
know. But
Dorchester's
I
better.
was like, so the
Dor-
thing is, where I grew up, some people might shout out to anybody that lived on Fayston Street. Fayston Street was like at the cusp. Depending on which side of the street you were on, you were Dorchester, and the other side was Roxbury, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
that's why it's like I say Dorchester, Roxbury, because where my street lied, it switched. Depending on what number you were at, if you had a Dorchester zip code or a Roxbury zip code.
Right. You were 70s baby, right? Because I'm 70s baby.
1976.
Okay. 1974. Amen.
You already
Amen.
know.
Growing up, I'll assume that you had both parents in your life. If not, please correct me.
I did.
What was it like growing up? And for those that don't know and weren't growing up at the time when we were growing up, when the MBTA was 50 cents for the bus and 60 cents for the train, what was it like growing up in that area for you as a young child?
You know, that is both a happy and a sad story. Anybody, if you're familiar with Snowfall and you're in the chat, put a 1 in the chat if you watch Snowfall, right? Or New Jack City, right? If you watched any of those shows, then you can connect that 1 minute I had this innocent childhood that I could fall asleep on my porch, and then the next minute it was like, get your ass in the house.
Yeah.
Right. And it happened so quick, right? Where crack came on the scene and like everybody had a crackhead in their house. Like somebody was doing it. You know, houses that were cool became crack houses, and it was like, stay away from that house. So I had a childhood that was fun when we still cracked open, you know, the fire hydrants and put the makeshift wood in front of it so that it could spray out the water. Where we still rode BMX bikes and skated up and down the street, you know, like I grew up in that time, but I also had that time with crack hit real hard, and a lot of my friends, you know, family members turned into zombies too. So it was like, it was bittersweet growing up.
Did you have strict parents that would tell you to get your ass in the house before the sun goes down? Did you have the parents that really weren't strict but still kept an eye and ear to everything to make sure you didn't fall down that same road?
Yeah, my mom was super, super strict. I went to a private school, Catholic school growing up. I would have been like, if you think about Boys in the Hood, and he had the girl across the street, you know, Nina's, you know who I'm talking about. What's her name?
Yeah.
Her. And she
I know
had
you're
on
talking
the Catholic
about.
School outfit. That was me, right?
You're talking about Cuba Gooding. You're talking about Cuba Gooding's girlfriend in the movie. Yeah.
So I was her with the Catholic school outfit on, you know, but everybody around me was hood and stuff, and here I am doing the right thing, and they're like, "That's the good girl on the street." That was me.
Well, shout out to that. Shout out to that indeed. If you just now tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, we got Coach La here, just reflecting on her childhood, her upbringing that led her to be where she is. We about to blow y'all away. Ladies, if you're here, stay tuned because we got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of events coming up that she's doing. And I just want to get into, this is one thing I saw where you've got I wrote down my notes in a weird sort of way, but I hear you often quote bet on self. What is bet on self? Please talk about that.
Oh man, so that ties into my father. My dad died 4 years ago, and one of the things he used to always tell me was to bet on myself. You know, I grew up, like I told you, in a time where people didn't really know what crack was, but when it hit, they understood that it was something you shouldn't do. And I was constantly encouraged to pursue my education and to be ambitious, to be a go-getter, despite everything that I saw. Like I knew from a very early age I wanted to be a businesswoman. I was constantly told that I was going to go to college. So even though, you know, I had family members and even my father at the time had used drugs, it was very early that people said, no, you're going to do something different, to the extent that I think it created a lot of people-pleasing behaviors and perfectionism in me, right? That I wanted to rise above, right? I wanted to be better than everybody else. I was like, when I get up out of here, I'm never using crack. I'm never going to do this. I'm going to go do something big and be a better person, right? I'm going to go and make all this money, and I'm going to come back and buy up the block. Like, I was always that woman that was talking these big dreams, right? Like, if you watch those movies and you got that one person that's dreaming about one day I'm going to be off this street and I'm going to own a business. I'm going to do this. Like, I was always that young lady. So when I look back, these are some great questions. When I look back, I have a real humble moment right now, because I could have been so different than how I am. Like, you know, despite people telling you that, a lot of people don't listen, and they still get caught up in a lot of things and do a lot of things that, you know, people told them not to do. So I'm very thankful to have listened, you know, and I got into some stuff, but not too bad, you know. Like, most of my issues was like, I wanted to go to the parties. I used to throw dollar parties, you know, even back then at 13 and 14, I was throwing parties. Music has always been pivotal to my life. Like, I look back, New Edition, Bobby Brown, Force MDs, like out MTV, BET. I was one of those people with a VHS tape recording Donnie Simpson. You know what I mean? Like, I was recording videos. And you know, like, who recorded videos? But back then you would record.
I did all the time.
Right.
All
I
the
was
time.
recording the videos. I still don't understand why I was recording the videos, right? But I used to record the videos, and all music was such a pivotal part of my life. It still is.
I often advocate that we were lucky to be born when we were born, when music was substance filled. No matter what the genre was, whether it was Public Enemy or Earth, Wind and Fire, either way, consciousness was very active in music when we were coming up. I feel bad for the people today because they don't have that. They don't have
we
that.
Had a little bit of everything. You know, we had a little bit of everything, from even the really provocative songs like F the Police, or, you know, Public Enemy. Like, there was always something. Even we think back to some of Biggie Smalls, Little Kim. There was always messages in all of the music if you really paid attention. But it was a good time. It was a good time. But I do think we're somewhat of a hypocrite, because I remember my parents not liking my music. So the fact that my son, I don't like my son's music, you know, like, I think that it's just generational, right? Like, what is that noise you're listening to? My father was not feeling EPMD, Salt and Pepper. He was like, what is this nonsense you're listening to? Right? Like, you know, Grandmaster Flash, he was not feeling any of that stuff. You know, it was corny. It was corny. It was like, what is this? And then they were sampling his music.
Yeah.
So I think we need to stop being such hypocrites, because at the end of the day, our parents, at least mine, was like, what in the heck is, I used to throw lips at handle it like a real, like, stuff Little Kim was talking about, F the Police, all that stuff we was listening to was crazy to them.
Wait, I got to ask you a serious question, but before I do that, I love LL Cool J, his lyrics, everything about him. My mother was like, when it was 1985, I was 11 years old when I bought the radio album. And she's like, what is this nonsense that you listen to? I tell you, decades later, whenever she sees that, she's like, I just want to take him. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to hear that. She's like, well, look at him. I'm like, I'd rather not look at him, but okay.
Right.
And I just laugh because I'm like, wait, 40 years ago, you was telling me not to listen to this, man. Now when you see him, you're just like, man, if he was your daddy, I'm like, yeah, I wish he kind of was. We would not be broke. But anyway,
right.
I'll believe that one right there.
Right. It's very true. Like, so, but, yeah, music, even now in my therapy sessions, I still use music. You know, I encourage my clients often, I think you might have even heard this, to create playlists, you know, that put them in a good space. You know, so music in itself is therapy for me.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I was like you, I was the good guy, just trying to fit in, amongst the gangsters and the players and all that. Like, I did not want to be any of that, but I knew I had to, I wanted to be liked, but I didn't want to change who I was. Did you find it difficult as a woman of color growing up then, that you felt you had to go the extra length just to be accepted because of the things that you did not want to do or be associated with, or did you find it easy?
Nope, I definitely didn't find it easy. And I was a girl. I was a girl growing up at that time, somewhat detached from like my cousins. So I didn't like have family in a lot of the schools and things that I went to. So there was a certain extent where you learned how to sort of ride the wave. Like, I wasn't completely a follower, but I wasn't also the person always saying, don't do this. Like, you know what I mean? I was sort of like, I'll be around it and then I would slip off, if that makes sense. So I wasn't doing everything that everybody was doing, but sometimes I was around it. And I learned ways of learning how to slip out of situations. It's interesting how I would get myself out of situations and 1 minute be there and the next minute be gone. As I think back now, like, you know, things would happen and I would just end up, where's Lakisha? And I already left. Like, I would just leave because people really wouldn't pay when they got in their little zones and stuff. They really wouldn't pay much attention to you leaving. No. So I learned how to leave. You know what I mean? I learned how to say bye. Right? I learned how to leave, and that has been an awesome strategy. I didn't judge you. I didn't. But when it was time and I got a way out, I'd be like, oh no, I'm about to be out. I never really fell prey to peer pressure. Like, unless you was gonna beat me up or something, I was gonna leave. You would have had to like block the door and pretty much force me to do something. Yeah. But there was a lot of times I felt like I wish I hadn't even been in the space at all, if that even makes sense. Yeah. Like, but I would find myself in certain things. I'm like, why did I come? Now I got to try to figure out how to get out of this.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, you sound like the person, like, when I go into most clubs or most public outings, the first thing I check for are the exits.
We were just talking about that.
I always look for the exits. I always look for the ways out. I look for the safe places just in case something goes down. I can already head towards the door and just be out. I did not want nothing to do with it. So you are an aware person. So right. I kind of, that's why we get along so well, because we both are the same. We're here right now.
Very true. I think my biggest thing as a female back then, and maybe a lot of the ladies that's on this live may relate, was the pressure to be liked by guys.
Yeah.
Right. And back then, it's probably still similar, like a lot of young women experience, like sex was huge, you know, and you had some friends that was doing it, and if you wasn't really doing it, then you wasn't really the in girl, or you was a tease. Yeah. Like, that was probably the larger pressure was that. But I will say, because my mom was so strict, she used to always say, if you try to have sex, I'm in the room with you. So the couple times I would get in those pickles, right, I literally would see my mom. And that stopped me for a long time. Like, probably times like about 17, almost damn near 18, from engaging in sex, because I was like, yo, my mom is here.
Yeah, and I'm not doing that because I know exactly what she'll say.
I was like, my mother is up in this room. He's like, what do you mean your mom's not in this room? I'm like, yes, she is. I gotta go. She is. I gotta go.
You don't know what I gotta come home to. Right. She's in this room.
But that worked for a really long time.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it wasn't easy. I think being a female, I also wasn't one of those girls that was fighting. So the other thing was trying to avoid getting into physical confrontations when you didn't have backup. Because I always really knew people that was like hanging around or people I was cool with. I learned from a very early age that everybody who you think is your friend ain't your friend. So I was always trying to not even put myself in a position to be out there fighting. But that also made people think that they could try you.
Get one on you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
you wasn't the one trying to fight. Or they just wanted to see if you could fight.
Right. They would test you.
Test you.
They would test you.
So I learned early on to not to allow people to sort of trigger me to do, I had a lot of, when I think back, a lot of poise when triggered.
Right. So let's go back to Bet on Self, because I saw that you got a 8-week live group thing. Has this already started, or is this about to start?
So it'll start on the 27th. This is actually the second cohort. I've already done it once. So this is the second time I'm doing it. And it focuses in on what a lot of things that we're talking about. As I've gone through life, people will be like, how did you manage to buy a house at 26? How did you manage to overcome a relationship that was abusive? And while you were dealing with that, still get your undergrad degree, your master's degree. How have you been able to navigate being a single mother? People have always asked me, and for a long time, I didn't know what was so special about it. Like, I was like, I don't know. I just do what I do. And it took my dad before he died. He was like, you know what, baby? You got to bet on self. And I don't know when it all sort of just made sense that I've always been a calculated risk taker. And I've always been betting on myself throughout my life. I've always sort of been able to look beyond my circumstances and have a vision and kind of get laser focused. When stuff was like falling apart around me, I would just get laser focused on my goals. And because that felt like the one thing I had control over, right? Like that was the one thing that if I just focused on that, I could see it. It was tangible, and I would just focus, and everything else could be crumbling. So how do I put that into a course and sort of look at what were some of the things that were coming for me along the way, from people pleasing, peer pressure, self-esteem, lack of confidence. And how can I help people sort of put things in perspective, build the self-awareness, and overcome that? And I said, what if you would have just learned how to bet on yourself? That no matter what, if you got tunnel vision and really focused in on you and killed all the noise and stopped caring about what other people think, and you stopped worrying about whether or not people were disappointed or happy, and you focused on whether or not you were happy, what would happen? What would you be able to accomplish? And so that's what Bet on Self is all about. I call it the Bet on Self mentality. And it's not to be selfish. Yeah. I'm not telling people not to be selfish, but at some point you got to save yourself. And you can't be looking for people to save you. And you can't keep blaming your circumstances, your parents, the society, for you not being where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So I was just like looking over, and I really like what people will learn. I'm just going to read some of them. Overcoming fear, not being liked, avoiding conflict, taking control of your schedule, taking your time back. That's pretty dope. I like that, even though it's physically hard to take time back, because once it's gone, it's gone. But in a more mental sense, I really understand what that means. Like, yeah, you may have lost, like for instance, when you lost your job, you couldn't get that time back, but you chose to adapt, You chose to take what you learned and what you did during that time, and you're doing something different with it to propel your future and be there for other people. You are nurturing while you were in that bank. They fired you. So it's like, okay, you know what? It's not a total loss, because while I was there, I was able to nurture this person or that person and to speak on my experiences and try to help them out all the while I'm setting up this account. Because let's keep it real. Money is another reason why people's mental health can go AWOL. Big time. Let's speak
You know how
on
many
that.
people jumped off the damn buildings when Wall Street fell apart? People killed
I can
themselves,
only
right?
imagine.
You know, they killed themselves over money. But there was a quote. I don't know who wrote this quote, but sometimes our biggest opportunities come disguised as bad news. I'll say it again. Sometimes our biggest opportunities come disguised as bad news.
Wow. That's
So if you
powerful.
start to reframe things that you think are coming to destroy you, and you
Mm-hmm.
think about diamonds, right? Diamonds are made out of pressure,
Yeah.
right? You think about glass. You can either get burned or maybe your glass. They use the highest temperatures to blow and create glass. What if you were being created into glass? Something beautiful. You're still fragile, you're still vulnerable, but you're being created into something that's beautiful. So sometimes we think of trauma and trials and tribulations as a way to break us. And really what it is like, it's really thickening your skin. And it's all
Yeah.
about how you want to look at it. You can take these things and you can propel, or you can let it hinder you. I wish the world wasn't so cruel, right? I wish there weren't bad people. I wish good people didn't have bad things happen to them. But you're not
Yeah.
alone. It happens every day. But not everybody who has something bad happen to them decides to go use drugs. Not everybody who has something bad happen to them becomes an evil person that wants to go wreak havoc on the world. So what's the
Yeah.
difference? What's the
What
difference?
is the
Why do some people get a terminal illness and live their best life, and other people get a terminal illness and they're depressed?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is deep. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just now tuning in, we got Coach Law dropping bomb jewels after jewel after jewel. Please forgive my New York accent. I know I say words weird. I can deal with it. It's fine. I want to go back to feminine energy space.
Yeah,
It said
let's talk
September
about that.
2022. And this is yet another. I hope my lady is listening to this, because we have conversations a lot about her upbringing, which was a lot different than mine. And when you spoke on not really caring what people think, that's something I say to her all the time. I'm like, yeah, you want people's opinions and you want to hear their insight, but you should never really let nobody's emotion dictate the type of person that you are, because if you keep on doing that, you'll focus more on them and less on you. I even had to learn that. I was like, because I always wanted to be accepted. I always wanted to be like, I never smoked. I drank every now and then. I never was on the street corner. I never went out to go hurt someone or kill someone. I don't like violence. Defending yourself and violence, two different things.
Exactly.
I didn't want to be that person, but I always would like, okay, I value your opinion. What'd you think? What'd you think? Back in my MC days, I always said, okay, what'd you think? What'd you think? I don't curse in my lyrics. Is that okay? No, man, you gotta say the N-word a million times in your raps. I'm like, well, why? Like, that's not the type of person that I am. So why am I gonna, if I have to be accepted for doing something that is not me, then it's not genuine coming from me. And I can't, I appreciate that, but I'm gonna go this lane. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, at least I stay true to self. So thank you for saying that. I'm glad I'm not alone in that. And Kayla, I hope you're listening.
Yes.
I really hope. We'll quiz you after this. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you know, the feminine energy space is basically a spinoff of, I had created this group called the Ladies Lounge, and then I created the Femme Project. So the feminine energy experience, which was last year, I'm going to bring it back in 2023. But the whole goal was to tap into our feminine energy, and I'm speaking more so to women of color right now.
Right.
No offense to our other sisters of other ethnicities or whatever, but
we got love for the Karens.
Often, at least for me as a Black woman, I have been seen as hard, assertive, aggressive, mean, loud, like all of these things, right? And you need to be more ladylike. You need to be more feminine. And it got me to thinking, well, what does that mean? Because often my ambition and my ability to speak up for myself has created that I'm more like masculine, or I'm more like a dude. And I said to myself, a lot of women in my life, the matriarchs in my life, showed me that, right? Like, you want to be independent. You want to make sure you have your own. You know, even things down to, you don't want to be relying on no man. They'll disappoint you. You know, a lot of these things about men leaving, right, created me not feeling so comfortable of allowing a man to have that space in my life. So I wanted to understand why was that? And what was another approach? And so then I, you know, as you get older, you start reading things. I'm like, well, what's this thing about yin and yang? Masculine and feminine energy. Like, nobody was talking about that when I was growing up. Like, what does that even mean? And so the more that I realized that part of me asking for help, right? Part of me being able to tap into my feelings, part of me being able to not feel like anyone's obligated to do anything for me, and just living my life and being able to be free, right? Feminine energy is all about just being. It's not about doing. Masculine energy is about task-driven, doing things, getting things done. And I feel as Black women, in my opinion, because of how America has constructed the Black family and sort of imposed things on us, it created more that women of color have had to get things done, right? Because men have been sort of castrated, and your ability to be a man sometimes is pulled away from you, especially in a Black family. You talk about welfare and Black men not being able to be in the home, or you can't get any resources. Think about back in the day, that campaign that I am a man, and Black men just want to be seen as men. So if you're not seen as a man, you can't be a man in your household. What's the woman to do?
Yeah.
What's she supposed to do? If the men don't feel like men and the men are leaving, then she has to step up. One of the things I really dislike is being told that I'm both the mother and the father. And I've fought against that mentality. I am the best mother that I can be. I am not my son's father. I know who he is. I know who I laid down with. I know who he is. Be he a good father, not good father. I'm only his mother. And I'm going to be the best damn mom I can be. Don't say Happy Father's Day to me. Celebrate me to the utmost on Mother's Day. Do extra for me if you want. But don't celebrate me on Father's Day, because what that shows me is that I don't have that person in my life if you're celebrating me on that. And that doesn't feel good. Right? So the feminine energy space was created for us women to talk about these type of things. Freely.
Well, no, go ahead.
Freely, unjudgmental, how hard it is, the difficulties that we experience, and the fact that we want to be vulnerable and ask for help and have people show up for us. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I'm looking here, the activities you got: boxing drills, outdoor boot camps, comprehensive nutritional assessment, individual thought therapy are just some of the things that they'll experience during that. I just want to give you a round of applause for doing that, because, and I'm going to let that sound effect go. And then, it's not something I really talk about publicly. I was raised by a single mother, basically since the age of 12. But when my father was around, he was really never there. And like you said earlier, you're not the mom and the dad. You are just the mom, because there are just certain things that a mother can't teach a son that a father needs to teach. And I didn't have that. My mother had to teach me about sex. She had to teach me about violence. She had to teach me about historical figures. And my dad didn't do none of that. My dad would wake up, make breakfast, watch boxing matches, and read nudie magazines. That's all my father did. And domestically take advantage of me. That was my childhood until he passed away. I look at my mom as both, and I look at her as a great provider, both financially when I needed it, mentally to this day when I needed it. But one thing I'm sure you'll probably agree on is you may not speak on it, but mothers know everything that's going on with their kid. And this couldn't have been more true than when she said, "Oh, I already knew what your father did." I'm like, well, if you knew, why didn't you do anything? Because I didn't know if I would, I didn't have the strength to do it because of what he may have done to me. Because my dad was abusive beyond abusive, both verbally, physically, socially, spiritually, and any other way that you could be abusive to the one that you brought into this world. The fact that I'm still alive is a miracle and a half, because I thought I was going to be dead a long time ago, for all the things that he did. But we won't get into that. But it's just a testament to you as a parent to say, I'm going to be the best mother I can and shield my son from the evils that are out there in this crazy world that we live in. Because I mean, not to sound cliche, but being black in America, that's strike 1, 2, and 3, because they already don't like us because of this. Never mind the fact that we're smart, intelligent, able to run companies, able to excel in school, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, college, whatever it is. They don't want us to win. They never did. But it's more on a deeper level of why they don't want us to win. But as a woman, y'all got it harder. I mean, carrying us around for 9 months is just the beginning of the journey.
Right.
You all don't get the praise I think you all richly deserve. And as a single, being raised by a single mother, I give you all the utmost respect in the world for everything that you do. And I just wanted to give you that. So thank you for being who you are. And you just went.
I definitely do.
You just went black again. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I think, you know, one of the hardest things for me as a mom was to make the decision to leave my son's father. And, you know, for my son to tell me, because one of the biggest things I thought he would end up is just really feeling bad about that. But when he was really young, I said, listen, I know your dad's not around. We're not going to act like we don't know that. And I know you see other people's dads around. And we're not going to act like you don't see that. But what we're not going to do is you're not going to go up in the school or anywhere else and show your butt because your father's not here. What you're going to do is you're going to talk about your feelings. And when he does come around, you need to speak to him about how you feel. And that was the one thing I put my foot down about, was you need to explain to your son why you're not present and why I've made the decision to not have you be present. Because you can't come here drunk and high and doing all. You just can't. I'm not exposing him to that. He's too little. He doesn't understand. And so now for my son to be 17, because he just turned 17, and say, I remember, which hurts my heart. He didn't get a chance to see a lot, but he saw a little enough. Excuse me. And for him to say, I remember, and thank you, mommy. And I remember the day that I told him, I said, listen, your dad's not going to be around. I said, mommy has to keep me and you safe. And you might not understand all of this right now, but I gotta make sure we're safe. And for my son at 7, that was 16 then, to say he remembered that and to thank me, because he said, mommy, my life, he was like, my life is better, which hurt my heart, without my father being here. My life would have been different if you would have allowed us to stay in that.
Yeah. Wow.
And I have role models, my uncles, my grandfather before he passed away. I don't lack anything. That's what he said. I don't lack anything.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I understand and I love you for making that tough choice.
Yeah.
That was a tough choice.
Tell me about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach La is here. If you have been tuned in the whole time, hopefully you are getting something out of this. I know this is not the norm for this podcast, but I definitely, when setting this up, I definitely want to include people who live, do things professional for people going through these type of things. I think it's important. So I'm very glad that she took the time out to do this, and I may have to bring her back periodically. Hey, Vic, there you go.
Hey. But I mean, I always want to tie it back because, as you said, this is an opportunity for creatives. I don't know if you're going to talk about that.
Oh, we're going to get to that part. I was about to get to that part.
Okay.
I was about to get to that.
Understand why this connects, and and then I'll bring it back to music and some other stuff. Go ahead.
Right. So, for those that don't know, Coach La, aside from being one of the dopest therapists and clinicians in the game, is a very actively, socially implemented butterfly. If you name the event, she probably will be there. But on top of all that, she is also a poet. I heard she's a very awesome karaoke singer, but we're going to leave that one right there.
I don't think so. That's not true.
But more importantly, she just started a radio show and podcast called Conversations with Coach La. And I have tuned into many episodes. I just saw the one with Vic. I just saw the one with Charles. Charles and I went to the same church. We went to Jubilee, Boston, way back in the
Charles
day.
Is dope.
Very good friend of mine. Salute to Brother Charles. And your show is probably one of the only radio shows that I listen to, because I don't listen to radio shows that just play music. I get tired of that. I need an escape from, as a personality myself, I don't want to always hear what's latest and greatest. I want to hear something that can mentally bring me to some place that I am not going. And your show right now is the only show I know that does that. So I tune in every Sunday as best I can. Let's talk about Conversations with Coach. How did it start?
Yeah.
And what was you just speak on it. Just speak on it.
I will say, I think during the pandemic, I had started doing, mindfulness Mondays, and I was doing Clubhouse. I was like engaging in a lot of different platforms, and some people know I was on the radio 2 other times. In Boston, I was on a That's Hits Radio, which is another internet radio. Then I went to Big City, and then I went to QuickTimeRadio.com. So I have.
Wait a minute, hold on. You were on Big City when?
With Val Beats, the morning show with Il Nil.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
you were. Why don't I remember that?
Yeah, that was
okay. All right, go. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a history of making appearances or being on other people's shows, right?
Right.
Even here at the Urban Heat, I made appearances on other people's shows. What I had never done, but always desired to do, was to have my own show, where I wasn't a co-host or an add-on or a special guest. So I started thinking about how I could let people get a sense of what a therapy session is like, and debunk myths about what people thought happened in therapy. Because some people are scared to go, or not sure what they're going to experience, or they think it's like TV. And I said, what if I were to just have conversations, the same kind of conversations I have with my clients? And I was reluctant to let people see my rawness, right? Of what makes my clients come back and refer me. I was like, do I want to be exposed like that? But I feel like God, the universe, wants me to touch more people and talk about more difficult conversations. So I'm at the tip of the iceberg of how deep I want my show to go. But the whole idea is to talk to everyday people like yourself about their journey, what they think therapy means to them, And then what I call your bet on self moment. And when I say bet on self, it's like your epiphany. That moment when you decided, you know what? F this. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't care what my mama or my daddy did. I don't care if I've been in this marriage for a long time. I don't care about what my husband says. F these kids. You know, like, I'm about to do something I've always wanted to do. Or forget this job, I'm going to quit. And if you haven't had that moment, you probably thought about having that moment, but something holds you back. So I want to bring people on my show that can inspire people to bet on themselves, because we get to live every day and we only die once.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Another deep moment. Round of applause for that, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed.
I got one more thing to add to that.
Okay.
My dad worked 2 jobs to the day he died. He died on his second job. He got off at 9 o'clock. He drove a what's that damn car? It's a Dodge. I can't think of the car right now. I don't know why my brain's foggy, but he left out the job and he hit the unlock button on the key fob. They have him on the video. He said in his most jubilant way, because me and him were very similar. You know, good night, everybody. Banter, talking shit, jokes. Hit the button, walks out. Before he pull the door to open the car, he just falls back and falls out in the parking lot.
Wow.
It's on video. I believe my father died that day. Right?
Wow. How old were you when this happened?
4 years ago, so I'm 42. I'm 46 now.
Okay. What was going through your head when this happened?
Well, it's funny, when I got the call, I knew something was wrong, and they said your father, was at Boston Medical Center. You need to get there. That he has, he had collapsed at work. That wasn't the first time that had happened, but several years ago he did that, but he got a stent in his heart, and he came out. I don't know. I just felt that I felt that he died that day. They tried to do whatever they could do for 3 days. So for 3 days, I wasn't sure if he was going to live or not. But I say all of that to say, those statements about betting on myself and him always telling me I wouldn't be here, he was always say, baby, I'm not going to be here forever. As much as I hate this, we ain't going to be here forever. And none of us know when we're going to go. Why do you keep allowing one person, one situation, or fear to hold you back from living your life? What if this was your last day here?
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
That's a good question. Yeah, but I get. It's funny you mentioned that, because when I knew that I was going to leave Boston, so many people tried to talk me out of it. And the people that were trying to talk me out of it were the people that never checked on me, never asked how I was doing, never said, hey, do you need anything? They always wanted something from me. But I was like, wait a minute, you want me to stay? Why? You don't acknowledge me when I'm around anyway. The only time I hear from you is when you want money or free music or do a gig for free. You never ever bothered to check on me and ask, hey, how you doing? I was just thinking about you. So why do you care? I'm going to someone who does give a damn. The only person I'm going to regret leaving is my mother. The rest, and some of y'all, but no disrespect to you, because you're not this person.
You didn't really leave me, because we've been talking like the whole time since you've been there.
Right. But you know what I mean? It's not like you weren't one of the people that just hit me up when you needed something. We would always have conversations, even if they were only 2-minute conversations. We would always talk about something, and we always seen eye to eye. So I'm not talking about you, but it's just so funny how the people that talk me out of doing something that could change my life and bring me to the point where I'm about to be married in less than a year, never ever once checked on me. And even still, been here for 3 years now, none of these people that have been so-called my people have called me once and said, hey, how's Kansas City? We just thinking about you. How you doing?
Right.
I haven't got one phone call from a bunch of people.
Right.
My number ain't changed.
Right.
And you're talking about you never know when tomorrow. What if I died tomorrow and you never had a chance to just check in with me to see how I'm doing? What if tonight was my last night? God forbid, I hope it's not. But what if tonight was my last night? This is the last time people are going to get to see me. Mm-hmm. What would you say to me? You know, exactly, Vic. Fake friend. Oh, that's somebody else. Take over. Fake friends, indeed.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Bless up, take over. Bro? So yeah, so you're absolutely right. Y'all got to just get your ducks in a row. Stop worrying about this person or that person. Live for you, and just do the best that you can. So when it's all said and done, you can be pleased with the fact that you gave it your best. We're gonna fail. We're gonna fall. We're gonna make mistakes. It happens.
That's right.
But the separation from a immature person to a grown person is: do you learn from it, or do you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and never mentally grow?
You know, I use this analogy sometimes with clients because you think about a little kid, right? Think about a little kid before they learn how to walk and they're trying to walk. You know, get that in your mind. All the people in the live is a kid trying to walk, right? They stumble, right? They're holding on to things. Sometimes they fall.
Yeah.
But nobody says, sit your ass down and stop trying to walk because you fell.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Right.
Right? We think because we become adults that we still won't have these moments where we're wobbly and we are trying to figure it out and we're off balance and we got to hold on to things and we may trip and we may fall because we're adults. It just looks different, but it's the same thing. Development doesn't stop because we're adults.
Right.
It doesn't stop because you're an adult. You are still developing. My father used to tell me that all the time. He said, some people want to kick their kids out when they turn 18. Stop. Your kid is still developing. You are a parent for life. And as long as God gives you breath, you have the ability to learn and to develop and to get better. Stop letting your stuff get stuck because you're adults. Oh, you can't teach a dog a new trick. Bullshit.
Yeah, you can.
Bullshit.
That's a damn lie. I learn something new every day.
Bullshit. Stop doing that to yourself.
Right.
You could be 10 years old. Go back to school. If you still here to breathe, you know whose life I love is Cicely Tyson.
Yeah.
Y'all need to go get her book. If you don't want to read it, listen to the audiobook because she's narrating it. That woman was living her life until the day she died. She was still acting, still doing things.
Yeah.
You got a lot of life to live until you don't.
Right. Facts upon facts. Okay, let's lighten it up a little bit. No, not to say that was pretty dope, but you're going to make me start bawling tears up in here in a minute.
Don't bawl tears. That's supposed to make you happy. You got a lot of life to live until you don't.
Right.
That's supposed to create optimism, joy, and hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not tears, unless they're tears of joy, of course.
Oh, yeah. Nah, I just don't want to turn this into a whole, they're definitely tears of joy, but I'm trying not to, because there was a few touchy subjects that almost brought it out, but I kept it together.
You did good. You did good.
I kept it together. So Conversations with Coach, for those that just now tuning in, tell them about the show, the premise of it, when it airs, and then we're going to get into some events you got coming up.
Cool. So it comes on every Sunday, 10 p.m. on the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. You can follow them on Instagram under the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. Also, you can go on the website and download the app on Google Play or Apple in the Apple Store. It's basically similar to this in the sense that I bring people on and we chop it up. We talk about life. You can also find all of the past episodes on any one of your preferred podcast networks. iTunes, Spotify, whatever you use, you can find Conversations with Coach LA on there.
I just pinned the station website. Hopefully I typed it right. If not, I'll recorrect it. That's correct, right?
Yeah, look.
Did I forget anything?
I think you might be forgetting the FM part. But,
that's what I thought.
Right.
I thought.
But
Charge
you
it to
can
my
also
head.
go on my page if you're not already following me. You can follow me on Instagram, and the link is in my bio, and it'll take you to the past shows.
Okay. Well, forgive me for typing it incorrectly. I always think the FM is there. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So I didn't do that intentionally.
Yep. And my phone's about to die too, so we didn't use
okay,
up all
so
my
we'll
juice.
wrap this up. Tell the people about the upcoming event you got. Yeah, speak on it.
So if you're in Boston next week at Park 54, it's a new Black-owned restaurant here in Hyde Park. I'm doing pole therapy, and that's where spoken word and therapy come together. It's a night of therapeutic spoken word. Tickets are no longer on sale, actually, as of 9 o'clock now, but you can still sign up to be a spoken word artist up until the 22nd. So that's next week, Wednesday the 24th from 7 to 9:30. My course, Bet on Self, kicks off on the 27th. If you have insurance, you can sign up for the course, or you can pay out of pocket. You can also find that on my website, www.iamcoachla.com. Everything you want to know about the course is on that site. Of course, you can find it on Eventbrite, or you can just shoot me a DM, and we can set up a time to chat to see if it's a good fit for you. I'm currently accepting clients as well. You can find me on Psychology Today, or just Google me. Just type in Lakisha Austin. There's a lot of social proof out there about me.
Facts. I'll end on this note. I don't want to take too much long because I know your phone may die on you. Brothers, don't be afraid to reach out to this woman to speak about whatever it is you're going through. She will not judge you. She will just try the best to help you as best you can. If you have a problem with talking to a strong Black woman about stuff, then don't waste your time. But I have reached out to her on many occasions. We would have 20-minute conversations. We would have 2-hour conversations. Yeah. But she was always transparent. I trusted her. She never, ever spread my stuff to anybody because that's not, if she did that, I would not be open with her to bring her on the platform. We would not be speaking at all. But seriously, she's that type of woman where she really will listen to you, speak on it, and just try to help you as best she can. And it may not take one session. It may take 2, it may take 3. Whatever it is, just open yourself open to her. She's good at what she does. Highly recommended from me. Definitely do that. But on a more personal level, I want to say to you, you've come a long way. We've known each other for a long time. And I met you when you was a reckless asswipe. Definitely. I knew you when you had no filter whatsoever. I'm like, yo, who is this woman? And why am I one to hit her with a pillow right now? But I had to understand that you were passionate. I'm not going to talk about the moment in time that I remember the night when you thought I was hitting on somebody. This is when I was single. You thought I was hitting on your friend.
Let me tell you.
No. Don't do it. It's fine. I just love the energy that you gave.
You're right. No. And I'm still unfiltered. But this goes back to my point about growth.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stay the same just because this is how you've always been.
Right.
Right? If multiple people tell you something, maybe be able to take some feedback. Right?
Yeah.
And I say this, feed forward is a concept, but is there any piece of what they're telling you that's true? And is any part of it going to help you grow? And if you can say yes and yes, shush, receive it, take it in, and just say, thank you for the feedback. Thank you for, sharing your opinion. It's just their opinion.
Right.
If it's going to help you, take the pieces that are going to help you If it's
I
not,
had to learn that.
throw it out the window. You don't have to always go to every argument that you're invited to. You don't have to accept the invitation.
But that's the fun part. We didn't have an argument. You just came to the assumption on something, and I was like, no, that's not the case, and whatever. But what I'm saying is, it's just like you were very passionate, because one thing I do know about you, you ride for your friends. And that's something that a lot of people really don't do. I ride for my true friends. But like you just said, I had to take the criticism when I was being too angry, or when I spoke, I came out and said something without really thinking about it first. You had no filter. I was the king of no filter in my early 20s, because I didn't have proper male direction. It was mainly me lashing out because I had no father figure.
Right.
So I was just unfiltered because I didn't have any brothers of color and I still really don't. I just let age and experiences dictate the fact that I can be who I am now and not be the person that I was. Certain situation that happened recently, I had to think, okay, how do I handle this? Let me think about how to handle this. All right, I handled it. I think I handled it okay. I can walk away from it knowing I spoke my piece and can move on. I learned that kind of from you, some of the things that you said, and just through experiences of, okay, let me not do the same thing I did 5 years ago. Let me not do the same thing I did 10 years ago. I'm thankful for that. So in closing, what I'm saying is, mentally, you have come a long way, just as a person, as a mother, as a public figure in this game, which is really male dominated. You found your niche, and now it's your time to shine. I applaud you. I hopefully can be a guest on there one day.
You sure should. I'm also in season 2. How about that? I have officially completed season 1, and as of this Sunday, so this Sunday you guys can tune in. I'll have Coach Latasha, which you can find her. She's the Fit Fab Foodie on my show, and we kick it off with her, and we'll be talking about how to lose weight and eat cake at the same time. She's going to be talking about fitness loss. She's lost significant weight and kept it off. But I really want to continue to talk about tough topics. So we're going to talk about body shaming and really getting comfortable in your own skin, and, you know, dieting wrong. There's so many fads, and now everybody's getting weight loss surgery. And it's all connected to self-image and body shaming. People feel like once I lose the weight, I'll feel better about myself. And that doesn't always happen.
Right.
And they haven't changed any of their habits that caused them to gain the weight in the first place. So we're doing that on Sunday, 10 p.m. Tune in. You can call in too to the show if you have questions about weight loss, or just anything, you know, that you want to share. And if you want to be on the show, you can also send me a message. I'm always looking for new guests.
I just sent my message. I would love to be on the show if you'll have me.
You can be a part of season 2. I'll have to get you on for October.
Okay.
Completely booked for September. But October's wide open.
Well, that's a good thing. Shout out to being booked for September. Yes.
All booked.
Indeed.
All booked.
Coach, you're an amazing person. Continue to do what you do. I hope this journey brings you blessings upon blessings, where you not only learn about the people that you interact with, you learn more about yourself. And at the end of the day, I think you're doing a valuable service. You're
you know what
awesome.
I forgot to tell you about?
What?
The last thing I want to end on is date yourself. Be you in a relationship, be you single, is to date yourself. I have a campaign that is going on until my big cruise, which is the Date Yourself on the Sea cruise, which you can go again in my bio. You see all about the trip for Memorial Day weekend next year. Excuse me, but it's all about self-awareness and personal development. You want to be the best version of yourself. You want to be 100% whole. You want to bring the dopest person into a relationship. And you can't do that if you don't know yourself. So the Date Yourself Challenge is all about spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself, practicing self-care. So when you meet that person, you got interests, you got hobbies, You know what you like, what you don't like, what your interests are, what your desires are, what your non-negotiables are. And you are in a great, productive, happy place. You're not coming from a fear-based, trauma-based, oh, everybody did me so wrong, and women are this and men are that, and they're trying to, you know, chip away at all these issues you got, right? That's not your partner's responsibility to help you with your trauma and your insecurities. That's your job.
Yeah.
That's your job. So spend time with yourself. Go to therapy. Do solo trips. Figure out your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't date somebody while you're doing that, but at least be focused on being the best version of yourself. So date yourself, people, and then book your trip and come date yourself on the sea with me. And if you got a mate at that time, that's cool too. It's all good. There's going to be a lot of couples on the trip too. But if you're not with someone, don't let that stop you from enjoying life. Because when you're in your happy place, that person will show up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just add to that real quick. Don't go looking for it. And I say that because there was a time where I wanted to be with someone so bad that I would desperately just look for something temporary instead of letting it find me. So after my last breakup, I had to work on me. And I took a 6-year hiatus from dating. Everything, no sex, no nothing. I just really needed to rework on me so that when Kayla came, I was ready. So I wouldn't be the same person I was under 10 years ago. And now it's so work. Like when she gets mad at me, I'm just like, okay, I may get loud, but I don't talk down or I don't put the blame game. I was like, okay, let's try to work out something where we can reconcile these differences before the end of the night. How can we be on the same page? Help me help you so you can help me, because the last thing I want to do is be in another hurt relationship and then waste another 4 years and then I'm stuck in the same rut. So I thank you for all that. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach La is here, the legend. Give it up for her one time, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know
Urban
about being
Heat.
a legend.
Oh, you are a legend. Stop it. I'm going to call you that, okay? Deal with it. Urban Heat, Sunday nights, 10 o'clock, conversations with Coach La. Tune in. It costs you nothing but time. You'll get something out of it. I want to thank you, my sister, for joining us. Thank you for everyone tuning in. And I don't know who I got on next week. I think I'm going to take a hiatus for a while and bring back someone in a couple of weeks or so. But I wanted to definitely do this, and I'm glad we did it.
Yes, sir.
You're an awesome speaker, and your soul is great, but your heart is really, really passionate, and I appreciate you. And I hope someone got something out of this tonight.
I hope so.
Once again, before we go, let them know how they can find you on social media.
Find me on therapist_coachla, and you can find me at www.iamcoachla.com. You know, follow me, sign up, subscribe. Find me on Facebook under Lakisha Austin. That's my real name. Also, La Renee Austin, still my other name. I feel like Hova. I got like mad names. Keish, La Renee, Coach La. Just depends on when you met me, baby. You know, I got names for days, right? AKAs for days.
Oh, man. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. See? And she's funny. Wow. I can't think of a better way to end this interview. This was really, really fun. I learned a lot. I got a lot from this. Again, thank you for your transparency and your honesty. And ladies and gentlemen, we are done. Enjoy your weekend.
Dope. You keep doing what you do, Mr. Daz1. I'll see you at the wedding next year.
Yeah, you got that right. You and Rika are there. Trust me on that. Okay, now. God bless y'all, everyone. I'll talk to y'all soon. Good night.